Hello, Trailblazers. Welcome to another exciting session of Trailblazer Talks with Fuchsia. With this series, it's all about supporting our amazing Salesforce community in your careers with the insights and guidance from experts in the ecosystem. So I'm sure all of you are excited, like always. So for today's session, we have two of our amazing speakers with us. Both of them, they come from technical backgrounds and are now handling the pre-sales teams as well. And today they will take us through their experiences, journeys, and the lessons they have learned along the way. So without further ado, let's give them a warm welcome. Welcome, Avinash and Bhakti. How are you doing?
Thank you, Visha. Doing good. Really excited to be part of this conversation and looking forward to interacting with some of the greatest and brightest minds in the Salesforce ecosystem.
Yay, fantastic. How about you, Bhakti?
No, I'm really glad to be here, Piyusha. I've been following your podcasts and I really like listening to them. So thank you for inviting me. Looking forward.
Well, thank you so much. Well, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience, Bhakti?
Yes. My name is Bhakti Pingle. I live in the UK, and I've been here for a couple of years now. I look after the engineering and pre-sales team at Cloud Mammoth. So we are a Salesforce partner, and I'm responsible for building teams, ensuring that the projects are run well. But I also support the sales team. So I head up pre-sales. So my involvement with teams outside of the technical teams is quite a bit. So I think the topic for today is quite relevant for what I typically do.
Oh, fantastic. We'll look forward to hearing your insights. Thank you so much. Avinash, why don't you share, just share a brief about yourself?
Absolutely. Digital transformation leader within the Salesforce ecosystem. Been in this industry for more than 15 years. Started way back in 2009, product of IIT Delhi. Started with a company called Wipro, moved to the US more than 10 years ago. Spent more than 8.5 years with Deloitte. I set up their Salesforce B2B commerce practice in Deloitte, grew it from 3 to 200 plus people, ran it successfully in the US, then did it in Canada, and then did it in Germany. 2021, came back to the US. Ever since we've been living in Atlanta. Currently, I pivoted from Deloitte, and right now more in the M&A space, like mergers and acquisitions. So I acquire businesses, but I'm also associated with a company called Skyplanner, helping them grow. So yeah, that's a little bit about my journey. But yes, 15 years of total work experience, all within Salesforce. Salesforce IT consulting is all I've done my whole life.
Well, sounds like an amazing career journey. And I'm sure our audience today will be able to learn so much from you today.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much both for joining us. Before we dive into our discussion, I just want to remind everyone that two of our most active participants today will get the opportunity to win Amazon vouchers sponsored by Horizontal Digital. So keep sending love, post questions, like, comment, and share this event with your friends. Also, before we begin or move on to our questions, post in the comments where you're joining us from. We love to learn about our global audience, like where you are all joining from. So please make sure you're posting in, keep sending in your comments. Thank you so much. All right, let's begin our first question. So Avinash and Bhakti, both of you come from technical backgrounds and are now involved in pre-sales. So how do you think having technical knowledge helps you close the deal? Avinash, would you like to start?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So this reminds me an advice I got from someone very early in the career, and that resonated well with me. So he once said, you cannot sell something that you either don't own or you either don't know about. Because me, I was like a fresh out of B school. I was like, and people who come from the V school background will probably know that you've been pampered a lot. You've been told that the world is waiting for you, but that's not the reality. You're no different. So when I get in, I started with pre-sales, and without experience, you're just trying to like collate everything, coordinate, calling people. Then he pulled me aside and said, like, look, we are selling a product, we are implementation partners, but we are selling someone's product. If you don't understand the product, you can't really sell. So that's when he actually pushed me from pre-sales to go do some project delivery work. Like he said, like, I don't care whether you have an MBA or not. I want you to go do hands-on configuration work with the developers and learn how to do it. And that has been like a best experience for me, because I quickly realized, like, how dumb I was. Like, I couldn't even write a line of code, where just people who are like next to me were like write lines and lines of code. So that was a good learning experience. So that's the reason, to your question, like, how was technical experience, like knowing the product, getting my hands dirty, understanding what the product can do, what it cannot do, what's the future like. And then I translated it to my pre-sales. It was like a night and day. I could not just write meaningful content in an RFP response, but also next stage, when you go what we call as like orals. I mean, in US, it's the word called orals. When you get selected based on your RFP response, then you have to go do the demo. In the demo, you can actually talk about the product versus saying that, why we are good, and just reading through this 20 slides. You can actually talk about the product, and more importantly, map it to what the customer is looking for, because you now have the product, or you understand the product like at the back of your hand. So knowing the product, learning the product is almost like a no-brainer from a selling perspective. And that's where most SIs fail, especially the selling people. They just focus on like putting everything together, and anything technical, they say, oh, that's the development team's problem. No, if you don't know the product, then you're not a good salesperson.
Absolutely agree with this. And I will say, like, I've had a similar course of journey as well. So when I started working with my previous organization, I was very new to Salesforce, and all I knew was like, okay, this is a CRM platform. And so as a sales and marketing person, I was supposed to know everything. Like, when I'm talking to customers, it was very challenging for me to actually, relate to what they're saying. So every conversation went from, okay, listening to what customers are saying, and then asking technical team to maybe help us understand what solution we can offer. It was a very disconnected experience. And from there, I started learning Salesforce myself. And I love it so much that now I'm in the consulting role. All right. So, Bhakti, we would love to know your insights on this as well.
So for me, actually, it was the other way around, Piyush, as compared to both of you. For me, I have always had a technology background, right? So I started off with testing, and then I have moved across to, yes, I did learn Salesforce as a part of being a test lead on a project, and that's how I got into Salesforce. But I think because I've always been a lot more technology focused, for me, I moved from technology into the whole selling arena as such. And I think what I have experienced is that you need to be able to understand and articulate what you are selling, right? So you need to you are pretty much bridging the gap between the client needs and what you know of the product. So as somebody who has got a technical background, you're going to know the product capabilities, and not just know them, but you're also going to know how to optimally configure it in the business environment. So when you have that knowledge and you're listening to a requirement in the background, you are thinking about first, it's literally like an algorithm that runs in your mind. Okay, possible, not possible, possible in these three ways, or if it is out of these three, this is the best way to go about it. So I think having that technical knowledge does kind of help you, as well as help your sales team to move forward or close the deal in that fashion.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with this. Even though you have a very different journey from Avinash and me per se, but still, like, every experience is it adds up to something, and you have the opportunity to learn something from the other. And as you explained, it really is amazing. how things connect between these two worlds.
Right. And this
Fantastic.
is one thing that people can take away from this conversation that we are having right now is like, get your fundamentals right. Like, doesn't matter which career path you take in like 5, 10 years, but when you're starting fresh out of college or you're 2 to 3 years, get your fundamentals right. Like, learn as much as you can about the product, because if you don't do it now, you won't be able to do it in 10 years from now. So get your fundamentals
Absolutely.
right.
Yes, and when you have your fundamentals right, everything falls into place automatically, because then you understand everything. You know what career path will be more suitable to you because you know everything in and out.
Indeed.
Cool. Moving on to the next question. So, how does having a solution architect or a functional consultant, functional lead involved in sales calls enhance the credibility and build trust with potential clients? This is something which we discussed in our last session as well with Richard, like how we can build credibility and trust with the potential clients during the initial calls. But when that initial call is done and we bring in our technical folks into the deal, into the mix, how we can solidify that credibility and trust with our potential clients, and what are some of the common technical objections you encounter from clients when you're when the technical team is there within the pre-sales calls. I would like Bhakti, you to share your experience first.
Yes, so I think, and this is purely from an experience point of view of so many years, that having an architect or having somebody who is technically strong on the call doesn't have to be always an architect. You could have like a senior solutions consultant, but somebody who's got deep knowledge. I think that immediately brings in a credibility to the conversation when that person is in the room. And when I say in the room, I mean in the call or in the physical presence as well, because I have seen that they do provide detailed answers to the technical questions. And going back to the orals bit that Avinash mentioned, when you are actually doing a presentation, you are not necessarily going to just be talking to the business. There is always a technical person in that conversation, right? And I think having somebody technical from your side aids that, because then there are two people in the room who definitely get each other. And then when you are when you're doing a proposal, having that one-to-one connection, whether the sales guy connects with a sales guy, a tech guy connects with a tech guy, or a business analyst kind of connects with somebody from the business, I think that connection also helps you win the client over. So I think that definitely helps. It builds a lot of trust. I'll come to the technical objections bit, but there's one example that I want to give you, and it's out of the tech arena. But last year, when we were trying to do the interiors of our house, there was this company we had called in. It was a husband and wife running the business, and the wife was basically the front of the business, right? So she was managing the sales and the talking, extremely articulate in terms of how she was presenting herself and her business. And I was trying to get one specific design idea through, and I think she just kept saying, "Oh yes, 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 we can do it, we can do it." And then her husband, who was really quiet all the while, just stepped in and said, "You know what? I think I'm going to camouflage the door this way so that you will be able to open it from the back." I mean, he just went about explaining the details of how he's going to do it. And in the entire like an hour and a half conversation, he must have spoken for like 5 to 7 minutes. But I was like, okay, I want to give this guys my work because they exactly understand what I'm trying to say. And I think that is the analogy of getting that architect or a technical person in the room, where they'll not speak for most of the call, but they'll say those one or two things, and the client will be like, he gets me, I want these guys. And I think that's the bit that I think an architect brings to a conversation. And then I'll let Avinash speak before we go into the technical objections piece.
Sure. I mean, I think Bhakti hit the nail on the head, because this is one of the frustration that our clients experience when then they're asking a direct question, and there's not that person on the other side of the table who can give a direct answer. They usually get a long-winded, long tail answer, which is more very salesy, and people get frustrated. So being able to give the direct answer is invaluable. And on this, I'm just going to go step back a little and say, like, respectfully, there are tons of SIs out there. Like, there are many Salesforce IT consulting companies out there, big, small, medium. But what does really differentiate you from what's stopping a client from going with someone who's like literally next door? Is the approach, like, be taking that proactive approach versus a reactive approach. A proactive approach is something like, based on our understanding of the industry, understanding of Salesforce product, understanding of you as a customer, here's what we think should be the scope of this engagement. Pause for questions, comments, and reactions versus just showing up saying, okay, now tell us your requirements. We will try to do it in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, give you some discount. So, the price point, which is always a race to the bottom. You can only take that proactive approach when you have the right arsenal in place, like the subject matter experts, both from the industry standpoint and what we call as like the service line. So that's where the technical person would come in picture, or someone with the technical knowledge. Doesn't have to be a person. It could be one person wearing multiple hats, but having that technical knowledge and being able to give direct, honest answers is the key. There's only one downside to it is, like, people get excited in these conversations, then they start pivoting and they're like, oh, let's build the whole integrations piece. Like, no, we're not building the integrations engine. We're just answering the question. We're going to pivot that towards the later phase when we get into like discovery workshops and I'll be at the RFP. We'll just answer the questions, and if we need anything, we'll have a breakout. You can have a sidebar, but we're not going to turn this into a technical architecture conversation. So that's where the project manager or the engagement lead in the room, they'll have to play guard. But having the ability, being able to give the direct response, like Bhakti has pointed out, is vital. And it's almost like you don't do that, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, absolutely agree with both of you. And I've seen, like, when you, like, your technical person says something like that, 9 out of 10, you know it then and there that you will end up closing this deal sooner or later, because this is how it works. In that moment, you build that unsaid credibility and trust with your client, which other people will not be able to do in a very long time. So totally agree with both of you on there. All right, so moving on to our next question. What best practices can you share for fostering an effective collaboration between sales and technical teams? Because at times I've seen, like, in some cases, especially, like, sales team wants to take credit for closing the deals and building the pipeline and whatnot. Whereas when the technical team starts getting praises from the leadership team, it just sometimes become a conflicting situation within the organization where sales team and technical team are, comparing themselves with each other. So to avoid such situations, and in general, like, building effective collaboration between the sales team and technical team, what best practices you two have to share with our audience? Maybe Avinash can start this time.
Sure, absolutely. And I've noticed this. I'm not going to name the company, but one of my previous companies, I've noticed this, where they had this horizontal vertical structure. So it was always like vertical, they would get the RFP, and the horizontal would help them tailor. So it almost became that, okay, we got this deal, you're just contributing to the response, so we're going to take the full credit. Exactly. And then they're like, okay, we are putting the solution together, we should also take credit. And then egos come into picture. I didn't know how to solve it back then. I was like, literally, I was too fresh out of college, but I've noticed like those egos in the mix. But now when I think about it, which I later implemented in Deloitte, is like having a collaboration tool would avoid such a situation. First is, you have to drive that one team spirit. Like, it's one team, like, you're one organization, you're working towards one goal. What that would mean is, like, people should have complete visibility into what the others are doing. So, like, share knowledge, share tools, like supplement the salespeople with all the product knowledge, because you can't expect them to go spend hours and hours learning the product or giving certifications, but because they're hunting the deals. Support them, provide them with the right arsenal so that they can look good in front of the customer, and also take the solution or the product team along with you to the journey, like invite them into the process right from the beginning, like even if it's like a pre RFI stage, have someone be like a fly in the wall. When the time comes, you can always pull them into conversations and have them answer to a question, speak on a topic. So that, I think, one team approach where everyone, all the key parties involved get equal visibility, and at the same time, like, people are sharing knowledge back and forth, so that no one is feeling that these things happen when someone feels that they're left behind. So ensuring that no one is left behind, and approaching this like from the beginning, as like from both angles, from industry and the solution angle, and it'll make you look, not just look good, make you much stronger, and you close more deals, and then there's a nice camaraderie between both parts of the organizations, versus like having to fight for credit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely agree with the one team strategy point here. And I think this is something, which is the biggest key takeaway from this conversation. And I guess it's important for every other company as well to have such strategies in place to avoid conflicts within the team. Because if you are having conflict, you'll not be able to showcase your best foot forward when you're interacting with the clients. So.
Right. And this is probably like a pivot from this topic, so I won't dive much into the details, but this one team spirit can be and should be extended to the engagement as well. When I say engagement, it's you, it's the client, and other third-party vendors. And there's certain nice ways where you can bolster that one team spirit. But again, I think that's probably a completely a different topic for some other time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can probably do another session on that.
Sure. Yeah, I have a few things to share that worked well for me.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe you can share at least one or two things.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I know Bhakti needs to go next, but so
Fine,
real
go
quick.
ahead. It's interesting, Avinash. Learning for me as well.
So there's one thing, and in fact, I just put it on LinkedIn recently. This one team spirit, extending it to the client, is again the fundamental of making everyone feel that they're welcome, they're part of the team. Making a product owner do the product demo. Like, product demo is always like dev team, you give the product demo, but you can actually empower your product owner to do the demo. Obviously, you have to support them with all the script, the demo script, the test data. You'll have to make them get comfortable with the team. But again, that's part of the BA's role. Like, their functional team can do that. But if you can do it, and there's a very templated approach how to do it, what will happen is, one, your product owner is vouching for the team in front of their stakeholders. They are demonstrating their trust and belief in the product. The stakeholders will feel a lot more at ease, because remember, product owner is from their organization. Like, one from them is actually vouching the product. So the stakeholders feel a lot more comfortable in the product that is being built. There's a healthy relationship between the product owner and the development team, because the product owner is actually vouching for the team. So if there are any stretch stories, the product owner wants to get it done without burning the team too much. People would be like, okay, it's okay, man, I'm going to go the extra mile and do it for you, because you're vouching for us. So that it's a healthy team, because what happens is business blames IT blames business, because everyone's seeing that this is your job, my job. This is one way you can do that. Another way is like inviting the end users, people who are going to use the product, into the UAT process. Like UAT testers should be people who are going to use the product, like your sales reps, the CSRs. Again, confidence, they are getting access to the product while it's being built, even before it's go live. They get really comfortable. You don't have to spend hours and days training them, because they're getting trained real time in the UAT phase. And you as a development team, you're getting real time feedback from people who are actually going to use the product. And so if there's something that the project team has missed, a big feature, you still have the UAT phase to somehow get it done and go live. So these are some of the ways where you can reduce friction, form that one team spirit ultimately, because everyone will be evaluated based on how the product is performing post go live, those KPI metrics, which we all forget. We're like, oh, we went go live, great, but what happened? Is someone using the tool? Are we generating revenue? No one really talks about it, and that's where contracts don't get renewed, because people have spent millions of dollars, but they're not gaining value. But if you do all of this, then you can easily tie to the KPIs. If you fail, then you'll fail as a team versus IT failed or business failed.
Yeah, absolutely agree with this. And this is a really good insight for our audience, I believe.
Thank you.
Cool. Bhakti, would you like to add something here?
I think the one team or the dream team approach is definitely something that I agree with. We've got the concept of floating teams that and it's not just for sales, but we've got different floating teams approach that we have started using from the last, I think, two years in Cloud Mammoth White Label Group, and I think that has helped us a lot. See, there has to be a regular communication, and tooling, choosing the right tools also kind of fosters that. So one is obviously the attitude and the willingness to work together as a team, but at the same time, I think if you've got the right process in place in order to do that, and if you've got the right tools to support that process, I do believe this becomes a lot more easier. Now we use within our organization, we do use Salesforce to map out our entire sales journey as well, and within that sales journey, depending on what are our internal business processes, we've kind of created custom notifications, which ensures that when something is coming through the door, the right people are notified. So making the technical team aware in terms of what the commercial context is, which is the next one, probably which are the next set of customers the sales team is engaging with, prepares them that okay, something will come their way which relates to, for an example, a MuleSoft integration, or for a marketing cloud implementation. So I think having those kind of notifications, regular communications, joint planning sessions. So me and our VP sales, we've got these regular catch-ups that we do, where he does discuss leads that he's talking to, or he feels that they are just about warming up. So he's not involving me at a stage where he wants me to go and do a presentation or attend a meeting. He's ensuring that I'm informed right from the beginning, and that is why I trust him, because I know that it's not just about okay, this is his deal or this is my success. No, it's about us working together and trying to move that forward. The other thing that we also try to do and is train our sales team to to a certain extent. There are different ways we do that, but ensuring that our sales team understands the technical aspects of the product is also very important. And I think these joint communications or these discussions enables your sales team to know, okay, because these are the kind of, for example, I'll give you Pardot, right? Or your marketing cloud account engagement. So there was this one quarter where we were getting a lot of Pardot requirements. And in the first one or two requirements, there was a little bit of handholding that I had to do, or explanation that I had to do with the sales team. But because of these joint sessions that we were doing, the third, fourth, fifth, conversation that the sales team was having, they were a lot more equipped with how to carry that conversation out. And I think that was possible because we were not getting involved directly in front of the client. We were working with the sales team in the background. So I think that kind of effective collaboration is possible because you're sitting together and working as a team.
Yeah, absolutely agree with this. Involving your tech team, like collaboration between the tech team and the sales team from the very beginning is actually really helpful, especially when you're presenting in front of the client, because then, it's not like I'm saying something and you're saying something. It's like presenting a one story as a one team. Yeah, really good point there. So we actually have received a lot of questions from our audience. So I'll just quickly take one more questions from from our questions. And before we do that, to all of our amazing participants, remember the most active ones will get the opportunity to win those Amazon vouchers. So keep engaging with us, liking, commenting, sharing, and sending in your questions and your love for both Avinash and Bhakti. All right. So last question for both of you. How do you think we can measure the impact of involving Salesforce consultants and solution architects in the sales process? And could you share a success story where the involvement of the tech team directly led to a deal closure, and what were the key factors?
Okay.
Bhakti, would you like to start maybe?
Yeah, sure. So see, the easiest measure, I think, is the win rate, right? Whether you're winning it or not. But I think an improvement in that win rate is a good starter. That whenever a technical expert is involved in the conversation, what are your win rates? Are you improving? But I think apart from that is I think the deal size. So if you go in thinking that these are the requirements, this is our kind of proposed approach, solution, etc., and this is what we're going to win. But in the course of the conversation, and having that person in the room who is saying that, you know what, instead of probably going this way, you try to go the other way. And I think this is probably a good time to bring in the story that we had, where one of our clients, and they were government clients, they were not willing to decommission their legacy system. Okay, so they had one specific legacy system and they were just not confident. They're like, no, we're gonna keep it, try and design the solution, or give us something wherein, we don't have to decommission this legacy system. But I think our tech expert did a very good job of explaining how the platform would very easily integrate with this legacy system, and that would probably bring in a lot more value. And this was a requirement which wasn't there in the first place. And after that conversation was done, the client felt a lot more confident to bring that piece of work into the original scope as well. So your deal size has gone up, and I think that is another metric of success. Or in fact, there's one more that I do always think of, is how quickly can you close it? How can you reduce your sales cycle? And I think that can be another metric, that just because we brought in the technical teams and the architect in the conversation sooner, we were able to cut through the initial discovery and then additional discovery and then business process and so on and so forth. So you're bringing that sales cycle down, having your team work on projects sooner. So I think these are a few metrics I definitely think are worth measuring and can define success for you and your team.
Yeah, absolutely agree with this. Because as you mentioned, these things actually make a very play a very important role, and you can obviously measure the success by seeing how the sales team was doing before the involvement of the tech team, and how bringing in the tech team improves, as you mentioned, as you shared an example of increasing the deal size, how it impacts the overall customer lifetime value, and just getting recurring revenue as well, not just closing in that deal, but also building trust to get more out of the same relationship.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Avinash, would you like to share your insights on this?
Sure. So from a metric standpoint, I don't really have a metric other than the before and after what Bhakti has talked about. But in terms of what the transition would look like, from before and after, and there's one thing I would like to almost encourage the functional folks or on this call are listening. And this is something that worked for me. I would be interested to see if this works for others as well. When you're again doing that presentation, let's call it orals. So what we've done in the past is what I've implemented is so I'm from the commerce world. So let's take a commerce example. We'll talk for example, product catalog. Pulling up the product catalog page, for example, if you're talking Salesforce B2B commerce, now Experience Cloud, pull up the product catalog page and show the product catalog page while you're giving that presentation, and not just pull up the out of the box. So what we've done is, like, we took up help from a front end developer. It's easy. We asked them to just style the page, like go Google the client's website, pick up their styles, and just style the product catalog page and make it look like what we call as like a cousin experience. Show this is giving them a sneak peek of how their page could look like, when we implement this product. So that personalized experience very early in the process. Again, there's this, once you do that, then people will get really excited. They'll be like, oh, this looks like our site, so let me go click here. Like, guys, there's nothing to click there. It's just lipstick and gloss. You need more, you got to show me the money. I mean, don't say that to a client. But so what you're doing, that you're lightening the mood in the room, and you're offering the personal experience, saying that we've gone above and beyond. We're giving you, like, it's almost like you're doing like a POC, like very lighter version of the POC, without no one even asking you for it. So use that, and then measure how things were prior doing that and how things are now after doing this. I think I'm going to take my shot at it, and I'm going to say that your win ratio will definitely increase, all other things being equal, if you start offering that personalized experience, because that's going to be a huge differentiator. 9 out of 10 times your other competitors who are also bidding will not do that. They won't even probably think about it. So that would be my story.
Agree with this, because investing a little bit of time in your customer can actually play a big role in actually the closure of the deal, especially when you're talking to them in a way they're expecting. So offering that personalized experience by digging a bit deeper in your customers' insights, maybe their financials or any issues they're having, other than the RFP they've shared with you. If you do some of the research about your customers, you obviously have a very good insight on what they're looking for, and then you can tailor your solution or your pitch deck as per that, and that will definitely is going to help you close the deal. Cool. So before we move, sorry, would you like to add anything in here?
Oh no, I said yes. Now question time.
Perfect. So before we move on to audience question, which we have received so many, Jyotsna is here. Hello, everyone. You all know Jyotsna. Jyotsna is a Salesforce MVP and a Golden Hoodie winner. So as you can see on our screen, Para Dreaming is happening on 13th of July, and Jyotsna will briefly talk about Para Dreaming and how you can all be a part of it. Welcome, Jyotsna. Jyotsna, am I audible?
Thanks, Piyusha. And it was a great session. Attend the session. So I would like to talk a little bit about Bharat Dreaming. Bharat Dreaming is happening on 13th July, as Piyusha mentioned. It is happening in Jaipur. And we are also having some pre-event workshops before the main event on 12th of July. We have pre-event workshops on AI plus data cloud, marketing cloud, and Salesforce flows as well. And there are many opportunities at the event to network with the MVPs, get their mentorship, and also there are multiple panel discussions and multiple informative sessions also planned. And we have keynote speakers as KP, Gilda, Sanket, and Pushpa Mai, and few other experts from the community will be joining for the event. So we are planning for more exciting and learning opportunities for everybody. So if you haven't come across the website, or if you haven't known about the event already, the website link is bharatdreaming.com, bharatdreaming with no G.com, and we are having a special discount code for the attendees of this session today. It's BD hyphen special hyphen 20. So it's a 20% off discount voucher, so anybody can use it to get to avail the discount. So many things are in line, something which you don't want to miss. Any other details, you can reach out to me on the LinkedIn, or you can reach out to PU. So she's connected and she can pass on the information to me. And thank you so much,
Perfect.
Piyusha, for including me on this.
Thank you. We're really excited to be a part of Para Dreaming, and I'm sure a lot of our audience is also very excited to be a part of Para Dreaming, and hopefully we'll see you there.
Yeah,
Sure,
sounds
sure.
exciting. Good luck, Josna.
Good luck.
Thank you, Avinash. And I know
Thank you.
the horizontal is in Jaipur as well, so we're expecting a lot of people from the Jaipur joining us.
Yes, we will be there for sure. Well, thank you so much, Jyotsna. And
Thank
now
you.
we will move on to our audience questions. Thank you. All right. So, first question I got is from Brijal Doshi. For some reason, I'm not able to display her comment here. So her question is: technical person can explain the detailed view of requirement and how it is possible, even if not possibly, they can justify the reasons. Would you like to add something in here?
No, I think I 100% agree because sometimes there are things, and again, I'll give an example where the Conga live edit feature, right? And I love Conga. I've used Conga for different kind of customers and solutions and all of that. But knowing, and I think this only a technical person would know. A person would say, oh yeah, we've implemented Conga for so many customers. We'll do it for you. But when you're listening to the requirement and the customer is saying, well, we'd like to do live editing of our Conga documents, somebody who's done it knows the challenges. So a technical person will say, you know what, there are challenges. Let's look at your requirement in slightly more detail instead of going ahead and promising it. So I do agree. I think not just saying how to do it, but where it's not possible, calling that out is what a technical person can do very well.
Yeah, absolutely agree with this. Cool. Since we have so many questions, maybe one of you can answer one
I think that would be a good
question.
one. I'll pass on the difficult ones to you, Avinash.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Cool. Moving on to our next question from Deepika. In your experience, what are the most effective ways to bridge the gap between sales and technical departments for seamless collaboration? I guess we've covered bits and pieces already in our discussion. So if there is anything else you would like to add, maybe.
I would just say use collaboration tools because people live in different geographies, time zones. It's not always possible to stay in touch. Use collaboration tools, share like for communication, documentation, so that way everyone's on the same page. So use collaboration tools like since we're talking on Salesforce, maybe use Slack.
Yeah, Slack is a really amazing tool. I really love using Slack.
And me.
Cool. Moving on to the next one. It's again from Deepika as well. What metrics or KPIs should sales teams focus on when incorporating technical knowledge into their sales approach?
This is a tough one.
Yeah. Well, you're taking that, didn't you? Say that, Avinash.
Yeah,
I'll add in.
I was being voluntold for this one, so in my head I was already trying to come up with an answer. Sorry, I think to circling back on what I initially said, there's no set KPIs as such, like from an incorporating technical knowledge. But I would say, like if you're a salesperson, look at it an angle where how you can add meat to your solution, like how is it calling out the richness or your knowledge of the product. And the other thing is how it can act as a differentiator. So I guess the KPI can be like how can bringing a technical knowledge or technical person help me differentiate from other competitors. So thinking from that angle, then you would start thinking like, okay, I need a personalized technical or a solution architecture diagram. I need to include some snippets from past implementations where how we did something for someone, which is very similar to this engagement. So thinking from that angle, like from a value differentiator, I think I would say if one metric or KPI that you want to track is like the value differentiator. Okay, how effectively you can create that value differentiation by bringing in a technical expert.
Okay, I was actually speaking on mute. Sorry, I had to go on mute because as a parent, my son walked in and he's like, Mama. So sorry for that. But I completely agree with you on the value differentiator point because it actually plays a big role in, just tracking your KPIs and metrics. So, anything you would like to add, Bhakti?
No, not really. I think I was probably looking at this question slightly differently in terms of, because we're talking about incorporating technical knowledge into the sales approach. You could also do it, for an example, by having your sales team do some basic trailheads. Because I think having that, and this again, I'm coming from a Salesforce background, which is why I'm talking about trailheads. But I think the bottom line being, if your sales team has a relatively decent knowledge of the product, to an extent that you could call yourself a beginner, I think that can also be a value add. So yeah, I think it's thinking differently here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with this. So having some basic knowledge or foundational knowledge of Salesforce it could be a differentiator or a metric which you can take into account. All right, moving on to the next question. It's from Ramakrishna Annarapu. What type of strategies used to make high sales and how can we manage it?
Maybe I can take this one because I think Avinash would probably add in a few things. So I think in terms of the strategies to make high sales, depends a lot on what are the goals that you've set. I think as a sales team, what are the goals that you've set in to achieve, whether they are your quarterly goals or whether they are your yearly goals. I think it starts with what your goals are and what is the sales strategy that you are putting in place. Whether it means are you going to take help from your marketing team to go out there and talk about your organization, about the case studies, about the or for an example, little demos that you've done for your target client. So if you want to do high sales, then either you're doing multiple small sales or you're doing a few high value sales. So I think understanding who your target customer is and then how is it that you're going to get their attention is everything that will have to be a part of that sales strategy. And then comes the bit of how are you going to then manage it, who's going to do what other teams apart from the sales and the technical team that you can take help from in your organization. So I think when you've set that target and you know that this cross-functional support that you are going to needs to come from these four organizations, then you will be able to define the strategies. I think one thing, and there's a metric that we've been recently looking at quite closely, is the effort that you need to win a new customer versus the effort and the success rate that you've got for an existing customer. There's a big difference. It's a lot more difficult for you, and I'm not going to say like impossible, but yes, it is a lot more difficult for you to gain a new customer rather than go back to your existing customer and talk about your value adds or what are the new things that you can do for them, because you've implemented it for them. B, you're going back to them again, which means that you've done a successful implementation, and then you know their ecosystem, you know their business, so you know the value add you can bring in for them. So I think these kind of strategies help. Avinash, anything else from you?
I think you literally stole words out of the mouth, because I was going to say that just to summarize everything, focus on cross-sell, upsell within your accounts. That's the best place to sell. And trust me, there's so many selling opportunities that people just leave on the table, like within your accounts. Because Salesforce ecosystem is huge. If you're doing a sales cloud, there's service, there's CPQ, there's marketing, there's experience cloud. Now there's AI, there's data cloud. So have those hallway conversations, the coffee chats. Someone would slip in a verdict. Oh, CPQ was brought up during one of the steerco meeting. Build on top of that. But be mindful of what your team can deliver, like how stretched your team is. Many SIs got burned where they took growth at all cost. I'm not saying this person is implying that, but yes, you want to sell more, but understand how much capacity you have, because you don't want to stretch your teams thin, have people working on multiple projects, get them burned out just because you signed up for more contracts than you can possibly deliver. Just be mindful of that, but purely like just taking it from a face value. Best way for you to increase sales is like focus on cross-selling, upselling with customers that you already have an existing relationship, while you continue to mine those greenfield opportunities, which are going to take time, which one would take much longer time in this challenging environment. So double down
Yeah.
on your existing clients.
Yep. Absolutely agree with what both of you have shared. Especially on the point that it's easy to just get in the flow and say that, okay, we'll do this for you. We have to be very mindful, and especially it's for the smaller Salesforce partners. I've observed, like, at the very beginning they'll say yes to literally anything, and once you start doing that, your quality goes down, because for one, like, you don't have somebody to do literally everything. Your team might have limited capabilities, so you might only be able to function on Sales Cloud or Service Cloud. But if you're accepting a Marketing Cloud project, then it's a big risk, because you have limited time to find resources, or even if you have capabilities and you're expecting your team to work 12 hours just to deliver this project, the quality will go down. So totally agree with you on this. So don't over stress your team. And then the second thing, rather than selling to a newer client, no, you should actually sell to a newer client to grow your market. Nobody is discouraging you to do that, but then it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of efforts as well. So upselling or cross-selling your existing clients is a way better option or opportunity you have right in front of you. So just reach out to them and say, hey, I was not even like, you have to be very specific about, okay, this was discussed then. You can just have a casual chat as well. Okay, this is a new product which was launched, and I thought maybe I'll just catch up with you and see like how you're doing. Just try to have a conversation with them and see like where that conversation goes naturally. And you never know, like within those conversations, you might be able to find some really amazing opportunities.
Right. And this last thing I would just say on this topic is like never stop selling. When I say never stop selling, like never stop nurturing those relationships. Even if someone says like don't come back to me 2 years from now, like keep the dialogue going. Because literally there's been one use case where a very steady growing SI, they've experienced 50% dip in revenue this year, because apparently one client, which is like a 1.5 million contract, they renew the contract for 50 grand this year. And they just assume that things will continue to, and like this business has been in operation for like more than 13 years, like very stable and everything. But they thought like things will continue to go smooth, but come 2024, this is what happened. So never stop selling. So
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the market is very volatile, so I completely agree with you on this. Cool. Moving on to our next question. In your experience, what tools within Salesforce assist in managing and documenting compliance with technical standards and regulations?
Well, this is one of those tricky questions, right? Where we're talking about documenting compliance. So I think
I guess the
there
question
are
is
quite
more
a
from a
few.
document management perspective, because compliance is different. Because compliance, it's like more like a geography based, like a UK, EMEA, then they have the GDPR, US,
GDPR.
something else. But I guess that the spirit behind this question is like, what's the effective document management tool for us to use so that we are just keeping it secure, like a secure file.
Yeah, sorry. I think we use quite a few document management tools. I think Confluence is one of the popular ones. And again, see, it all depends on how much you're willing to spend, right? So because I think our audience, we've got SMBs and we've got people from larger organizations as well. So I think ultimately it is about what is the kind of tooling expense that you and your organization can afford, right? So Confluence is always a go-to, and even with larger organizations, with government organizations as well that I have worked in, Confluence is something that I suggest because it's easier for you to keep a record of, refer to, and even for that matter, train your team or your client team. But if that's not what you want to spend on, it's okay to use SharePoint as long as you have put your documents in the right place, you're following your structure, you're following a process. I have seen, and people hate SharePoint, right? I'll tell you that when it comes to storing the documentation or referring back to it, because there will be multiple copies of that document. Finding documents can be quite difficult, and hence why first define what is the process you're going to follow, what is the folder structure that you're going to use, and then go about kind of documenting things in the right place, and referencing the link rather than downloading it and sending it out on emails. So that's that's one thing that we have to avoid if you want to ensure that you're going to keep your documentation extremely up to date. So I think that's what is my experience around documentation and usage.
Avinash, would you like to add anything in here?
No, I've always been a big fan of tools like Confluence, like the Atlassian suite. So keep it light. We're very collaborative. You can tag people, you can share, and 100% yes, use those features rather than just printing out a PDF and emailing it. Yeah, just don't do it.
Yeah, agree with us. Cool. Moving on to our next question. It's again from Deepika. Please share your insights on how do you coach sales team to address technical objections raised by prospects and turn them into opportunities.
I would say don't take on a question if you don't know the answer. If you're not and it's okay to say that I don't know. Like sometimes we get into this habit, like we have to answer the question. It's totally fine. If you don't know the answer, put it to the parking lot. Say that I'm going to follow up on this one. Talk to my folks and get back your answer, and make sure you follow up after the conversation. So yeah, if you don't know, don't answer. If you don't have the right people in the room, you can make sure you have the right people in the room. But for some reason, you cannot, because sometimes questions come from someone might just ask a regulatory and a compliance related question. So just take it, add it to the parking lot, and get back to them.
Yeah, I agree with this. Bhakti, would you like to add anything in here?
Yes, I was on mute. Sorry. So similar situation, Piyusha. So no, I agree. I agree 100% what Avinash has said. I think also probably take a step forward is try and understand what the question is first, because, and again, this is coming from experience. I've seen that there is a technical objection that is put forth and you're going on a completely different tangent trying to answer that question. So I think understanding the question first, and if you're not sure, park it. Absolutely, that's something that you should do. But at the same time, see if there's a pattern. And when an organization is going and doing pitches or proposals, you always see that there are a few areas where questions or technical objections are going to come. Things like scalability, things like security. I think these are the common kind of threads across different domains. All sorts of domains, all sorts of industries are going to talk about security, are going to talk about how are we going to scale. So identify these patterns, identify these questions, ensure that you and your team are prepped around it, and then go ahead. But of course, there are always surprises, and if you can answer, well and good. If you can't, park it and then go back. That's one thing that I always tell my team is, when you've taken a question down that you cannot answer, whether it is a sales pitch that you're doing or you're doing a demo, and a question is asked and you've made a note of it, go back to them with an email, and your existing client and your prospective client both are going to appreciate that you've taken that question seriously and you've gone back to them. So yeah.
And just reading through that, I think there's one more thing. This could be one more thing to the question is especially stressing around the technical objection. So, and Deepika might be coming from a perspective where you're making the presentation and someone has actually challenged your approach, the thought process, or your architecture. First, acknowledge their objection. I would say, like, whether they're right or wrong, acknowledge it so that they don't feel like someone is pushing back. If you know confidently, especially the the sales team, and this is where the coaching comes. If you know the answer, yes, take a shot at it. But if you don't know the answer, acknowledge the objection, thank them for pushing back, because it's going to make you go do some R&D. Take it back, saying that I'll definitely get back to you. And when you get back, don't just go back with a one two liner. Go back with a full blown explanation and justification why you think that they're wrong, or if they're right, saying that exactly, you're absolutely right, but here's the corrective action that we've taken. This is how we're going to move forward. Again, thank them 3-4 times in your response for calling you out.
No, absolutely. I think making them
rather than a framework related an approach.
True, and I think you've kind of nailed this one on the head, because it's important to make them feel understood and to make them feel secure. So I think that acknowledging piece is quite the key. Avinash, I agree.
Yeah, you two have actually explained it really nicely. So I don't think I have to add anything in here. But we're now over time. So I'll quickly wrap this up, and really, thank you so much, everyone, for all these fantastic questions. We do have a lot of questions, but I actually observed that most of the questions we have covered during our discussions already. So we'll be wrapping it up for now. So thank you so much, everyone. Before we wrap up, I just want to let everyone know that in the first week of July, we will be back with a really interesting topic. And we'll be joined by Safia Garibo. She's a popular face in the Ohana, and she'll be talking about a topic which is, I think, on a lot of people's minds. So we'll be discussing how Salesforce professionals, especially those working in consultancies, can manage the demands of their roles, from working on projects and keeping up with new releases and upskilling with certifications and networking with professionals, because it's easy to feel overwhelmed and stressed with all this going on. So with this session, we'll try to focus on how to overcome stress and anxiety, and how to set up boundaries for your personal time and stuff like that. So that even though you're working for your company, you need to sometimes, how you can keep up a balance between upskilling your job and your personal time. This is what we'll be discussing with Safia. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much both Avinash and Bhakti. You've been amazing. You've shared really amazing insights with our audience today. And, I'm sure I was able to learn so many things, and I'm sure our audience was able to learn a lot from you too as well. So really, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Glad we could be of help.
Perfect. Well, thank you. So once again, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. And Trailblazers, see you next time. Until then, keep trailing. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.